So, this video will be covering details on what the most desirable versions of every charm may be, according to market interest in both the Western and Chinese scenes, alongside consistent sales of these special patterns. If you guys want to skip the intro and head straight into the best charms, timestamps for each charm will be in the description of the video. So, about 2 days ago, Buff163 finally implemented a way to organize charms into basic categories. It appears that someone over there put a range of values over the charm to generally group them based on either color saturation and hues. True pattern-based charms, mainly the Lil Teacup and the Diner Dog, will still have no general categorization of pattern values. That, however, won't stop people from trying to upsell their Big Smoke pattern Lil Teacup or the Pink Eye Diner Dog. A lot of videos I've seen on YouTube talking about charms seem to only talk about the ones that are plainly the most hyped or obvious ones, such as the diecast AK with its many color variations from blue to pink to red to even gold, to the semi-precious knife charm which has already garnered attention to its resemblance to Doppler gems. I believe, however, that every single charm that was released will have its most desirable form. I'm sure you guys know that there are 100,000 different quote-unquote patterns for each charm, and to put in perspective on how rare these things can be, a covert charm has a 1 in 156 chance of dropping, and in these two collections currently, the more desirable of the coverts are the Hot Howl from the Missing Link collection and the Baby Karat T from the Small Arms collection. That would mean it would be a 1 in 312 to hit the better covert charm. Then, if you manage to hit 1 out of the 1,000 best patterns for that specific charm, congrats, you hit the 1 out of 31,200. And if you hit the absolute best pattern for it, the number 1 pattern for that charm, it would be a 1 in 31,200,000. By the way, the odds of pulling a StatTrak Factory New 661 pattern case hardened blue gem is a 1 in 21 million. But I'm sure my hot dog charms will be worth as much as that AK though. I believe the reason why it's done this way is because Valve didn't introduce wear values on the charms, only pattern indexes. Basically, if you have the same pattern for a given charm, that charm will be a literal clone with another charm that has the same pattern ID. It's just that for higher rarities, this will be exponentially less likely to happen. Think about it for a second. Do you guys think that there'll be 100k of each covert charm? Maybe eventually, but it's probably not going to happen for a while. Because even if you factor in the fact that you have to put a stupid amount of time just to open items from the Armory, you also can't trade up to covert with these charms. And that means that if you basically get a bad charm, they're going to be eating up space in your inventory or storage units forever, or until Valve rotates these things out in 10 years. But anyways, I guess it's time to actually start the video. I'm going to start with the cheapest and least desirable charms, and move up to the most expensive and coveted charms and their variations. Starting with the Backsplash, the most desirable color for it would be purple, which starts at pattern 90k. On the screen is what a 100k looks like. A typical market Backsplash will vary from a faded green to a yellow. Blue is the best color for the Stitch Loaded, which cuts off around 15k. On the screen is what a number 1 pattern Stitch Loaded looks like. And a typical market price Stitch Loaded will range from a faded green to an orange to a yellow. For the Lil Cap Gun, the cap of the charm varies from different hues of yellow and orange. Currently, both variations are almost even in price, but the most valuable ones are the patterns that are closer to either end of the pattern spectrum. Here's what a pattern 1 yellow cap gun looks like, and here's what a 100k orange looks like. For the Pocket AWP, currently there are no severe price differences for any of the patterns, which range from green to purple to brown. In my opinion, patterns that are closest to 1, which makes the AWP look the most like the default AWP that we know and love, is probably the best one to go for. There is, however, a hidden blue version that isn't being recognized by Buff163's categories, and it ranges from pattern 40k to about 45k. I also think this pattern looks pretty cool. Likewise for Lil Ava, which isn't a very popular charm at the moment, has no noticeable price differences from any of the patterns, which again range from green to purple and brown. and in my opinion, the deep purple color found near 100k would probably be the most desirable. You probably won't get any overpay for a Whittle Knife charm unless it gets very close to either pattern 1 or 100k. They range literally from a brighter wood to a darker wood respectively. For the Lil Crass charm, the most rarest and desirable version will be the teal bandana, which starts around 95k. This is what a pattern 100k looks like. For Big Kev, whose shirt and tie ranges from pink to purple to blue, the best versions to get would probably be the hot pink or the sky blue variant. Buff163 slams all the pink and blue shirt Kevs into the same tab, so be sure to pick up patterns below 1k or above 99k to get the best Big Kev you can. Here's what a pattern 1 and 100k looks like. And this is what a typical pink and blue shirt Kev looks like. For the pinch of salt, literally every single color variation is around $1 to $3, except the blue one, which you could buy starting from literally $21 right now. For it to be considered blue by Buff163, it needs to be below 3k. But in my opinion, all salts between 1000 and 3000 are more purple than blue. And true blues are those with a pattern of 1000 or below. Here's what a 3k looks like, and here's what a pattern 1000 looks like. And finally, here's a pattern number 1, blue pattern, pinch of salt. And this here is my favorite charm, the hot sauce. It ranges from red, orange, brown, and yellow. The most desirable of which is the red, which drastically gets more saturated and bright as the pattern approaches the pattern number 1. Bright red hot sauces are already being called Coca-Colas, or Cokes, by both the Chinese and Western scene, but I always called them red wieners. I like that name a lot more. In my opinion, the charm stops being red past the pattern 20k, but it can only be called a Coke from below the pattern 5k. They still look amazing below 10k, which is what Buff163 uses as a metric to differentiate the reds from the reddish oranges and the reddish browns. Like the Whittle Knife, Baby's AK doesn't really have noticeable differences in desirability based on patterns except for the very extremes of the pattern spectrum. For the Lil Squatch, you can actually get him in gold shorts. For it to be considered gold though, it needs to be a pattern of 5 to 15k. The more you get to the pattern 1, the more orange it becomes. So don't go below 5k. Here's what a pattern 1 Squatch looks like. And I always thought that this dude kind of looks like one of those NFTs, which is kind of ironic if you think about it. And everyone knows about the Lil SAS and how you can get him in the red eyes to match your D Squadron officer. In my opinion, a true red eyes SAS starts just below the pattern 500, making it a very small window to get him in his full red eyes form. Buff163 recognizes patterns below 2k as red eyes however, but patterns below 500 gets a substantial overpay regardless. Here's what a pattern 1 SAS looks like, and here's what a pattern 2k looks like, and you guys can be the judge. For the charm Hot Hands, the most desirable color for it would be orange, which gets more vibrant as you move towards the pattern 100k. And here's what a red and pink Hot Hands looks like for comparison. For the That's Bananas charm, it seems like the green unripe bananas, which gets more unripe towards 100k, gets the most overpay, which is not what I have thought of at all. Patterns that get closer to the pattern number 1 get extremely brown, as shown here, which stands out more to me than the vast amount of yellow and slightly green bananas out there. Trust me when I say that I believe that these brown bananas are gonna get more expensive, as I've already seen the community using them with certain explicative crafts, which unfortunately drives up prices for those who might want the charm for more innocent means. For the pop-up charm, patterns above 90k gets more purple with a base color of blue. These, alongside the pink versions, which get more pink towards the pattern number 1, are the more valuable versions of these charms. The Lil Sandy charm is also popping the fuck off, as the red version of this is extremely popular in the Chinese scene, as with literally anything that is red. A true red Sandy are patterns below 2000, and here's what a number 1 pattern looks like. Did you guys ever want a blue gem chicken? Well, you guys can have one if it's below the pattern 5k, but in my opinion, if you want a true sky blue gem chicken with no dark spots or hints of purple, then you guys are gonna have to get the patterns below 500. Here's what a 5k looks like, and here's what a number 1 pattern looks like. For the Glamour Shot, the most desirable pattern is of course the one with the red accents, which gets more saturated the closer you get to the pattern number 1. I'm kinda partial to the blue version, however. I think for most loadouts, the blue matches more with the CTs having the USPS, unless you're using a red USPS. Then it kinda sucks to be you, because this thing starts at $25 for the red version when the base versions start around $4. The Lil Whiskers charm has cemented itself as the most anime and cute charm available to the billions of Akihabara except Oni Taiji Temukao owners. And what better color to have your anime cat in than in a bright pink? Yes, pink is the most expensive color for this charm by far. The most coveted pink patterns peak at around 40k. If you head too close to the 30k territory, it'll turn your cat more magenta than pink, and everyone knows that your cat needs to be this exact light shade of pink to match with your brand new, factory new AWP Krakow, available now in the Armory. Again, as mentioned before, the Lil Teacup charms aren't categorized currently, but the pattern zooms in as the pattern progresses towards the number 100,000. A few people try to market their teacup charms as having the boom or smoke clearly visible on the body of the charm, but in my opinion, unless you put the charm on a pistol that's set extremely close to your face, you can't really make out the text at all. That being said, I'm glad that there's some unique patterns besides color variations for charms. Likewise, the same goes for the Diner Dog, which also zooms in as its pattern gets towards the number 100k. The pattern is less ornate, but it has more striking colors, which probably adds to its overall visibility in game. I don't know if this will get any overpay, but I really like the pattern number 100k. I think that it has the biggest pink and blue eyes possible, with one on its belly and the other one being on its forehead. With the Lil Squirt charm, there aren't very noticeable price differences between its colors, which range from a green to blue to purple, and finally dark pink. I think it really only starts getting pink at around 95k. And I really like the purple pink accents on it as well, as the color scheme kind of reminds me of Buzz Lightyear or any childhood water guns that I used to have. On the screen is a pattern 100k Lil Squirt. For the Lil Monster, the most desired version would be the elusive blue and purple tongue. You can get a blue tongue starting from around 90k, but for it to be considered a blue and purple, it needs to be above the pattern 99k. Here's what a pattern 100k looks like. Runner-up is the red tongue variant, which gets more red the closer you are to the pattern number 1, as shown on the screen here. And well, we finally made it to the diecast AK. And oh boy, you guys probably seen the billion Reddit posts of people asking to price check their new blue, red, gold, turquoise, purple, pink AK charm every single day since the Armory update came out. Either that, if you've heard that one dork who spent over $1,000 to get their hands on one of the first gold AKs. I just want to refer you guys to this chart here, which was posted on Reddit by this guy. The most desirable AK charms are the true unadulterated red from pattern 21,950 to 22,050. For the golds, that would be from patterns 1 through 50, and for the blues, it would be from 99,950 to 100k. These would probably be the smallest windows yet. I kinda want to say that it's a little bit gatekeeping in a way, but he did mention that it's really for collectors and that they're really not distinguishable from the colors slightly below or above these insane criteria pattern numbers. For the Titeenium AWP, the most desirable colors are the fully gold or saturated purple, each at their own extremes of the pattern values. I personally prefer the purple one myself. For the Diamond Dog, a lot of people don't know that they get extremely holographic and shiny the closer they get to the pattern number 1. Pattern number 100,000 barely has any rainbow color, while 1 looks like an absolute glowing disco ball. And I prefer a disco ball myself. Like the diecast AK, the semi-precious has been enormously hyped up and discussed thousands upon thousands of times on Reddit, Discord, or whatever. The most desirable colors are those found at either extremes of the spectrum, pattern number 1 being a saturated green emerald color, and 100k being a very deep purple, which people are calling black pearl for some reason. Now we finally get to the coverts, aka the spicy dogs. Like the Diamond Dog, the Hot Wurst is kind of similar in that at pattern 1, it looks like there's no holographic pattern at all. When it gets towards 100k, however, the flames get ridiculously psychedelic. Probably the most insane holographic effect that we've had in CS2. It not only has holographic effects, but there's also glitter in it, which gives the holo effect another layer of depth. Speaking of glitter, the Hot Howl is also kind of similar in that at patterns close to 100k, you can barely tell that they have any special effects on the charm at all. The Howl, however, looks noticeably yellow and orange. The closer you get to the pattern number 1, however, the glitter itself gets a lot bigger and the Howl gets much more red. In all cases in the market, the lower pattern index Hot Howl receives the most overpay by far. The second to the last charm for this video is the baby Karat CT. The lower patterns are a noticeable copper color which slowly transitions to a realistic gold material as the pattern reaches 100,000. The community obviously values gold over the copper, but some special exceptions can be made for extremely low pattern index Karat CT charms. Finally, we arrive at the baby Karat T, the more popular of the two covert knife charms. This knife also follows the same copper to gold color scheme, but interestingly, the charm also has a very noticeable, variable luster quality to it. The charm itself stops getting more gold at around 70k, and maxes its reflectivity at around 74k to 76k. The charm also slowly becomes more dull until it hits 100k. If you want to see what I'm talking about, here's pattern number 1, pattern number 25k, pattern 50k, pattern 60k, pattern 75k, pattern 85k, and finally pattern 100k. Similarly, patterns ranging from 24k to 26k are the most lustrous of all copper variations. Again, here is pattern 75k, and here is pattern 100k. 75 and 100. I personally prefer the more shiny 75k, even if the pattern 100k gets a little bit tiny more gold, because the shiny one just reflects light better, which makes it more eye-catching in my opinion. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful and entertaining. If you think I got some of these wrong, if you want to inform me of some crazy charm pattern, please let me know in the comments. Also, if you would drop a like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. Thanks, and well, until next time, peace.